Enjoy the novice phase while you can, because once you're out of it, things are going to change big time. And in this video, I'll be talking about what those differences are, starting with the subject of muscular weaknesses or imbalances. Understand that right now, you don't have any weak points. Everything is weak, which means that you can gain muscle on a very simple cookie cutter novice routine, like the one that you can see in the description box, where you're just doing the standard compound movements, maybe a few little accessories here and there, basic linear progression, everything is all good, and you'll develop just fine. Most of you guys, you'll build your base, you'll acquire that 10, 20 pounds of lean mass, nothing to worry about. But what happens when you hit the intermediate stage? Ooh, maybe now you're seeing your genetics for what they really are. Maybe now you're seeing the fact that you might be a little bit torso dominant. You got amazing chest and back, but your arms are proportionally lagging. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you got 18-inch arms, you lucky motherfucker. But your chest is flat as hell. Got that pancake action going on. What does this imply? Well, say hello to specialized training. Say hello to real weaknesses that need some serious goddamn addressing. The days of just relying on lat pull downs and fucking rows are over, my friend. Enter the world of isolations. Enter the world of accessories. Enter the fucking world of variations. Maybe, just maybe, instead of doing the competition bench, you do a close grip bench press. Holy fucking shit. You just changed the game. Maybe instead of doing a regular squat, you do a pause squat. Maybe you do a front squat because you're lacking the thoracic extension. Maybe you want to work on that depth, right? Many different factors, all of course related to individual anthropometry and genetics. And maybe if your novice routine wasn't so good back then, but I'm going to say a good one should take care of you. Point is, the training will have to be modified. And then it also comes down to the sets and reps. You're probably not just going to do 5x5 every fucking workout, okay? You might mix it up a little bit. Maybe you're going to run a heavy, light, medium setup. Maybe you're going to periodize in either linear or concurrent, which is what I recommend. Maybe you do some classic block setup. Whatever you choose, those days of novice programming are fucking over. Get used to it. The only way you're going to get that surge again is if you hop on drugs. Straight up. After your first year, you'll gain like 10, 20 pounds easy. Lean mass. Then it drops down more and more and more. Check out the model by Lyle McDonald. Okay, so it does slow down. So guess what? You might have to start prioritizing weaknesses. You might have to start doing some more band face pulls. Maybe you'll have quad dominance, and you'll have to correct that too. Perhaps there were some form issues in the past, and now you got to work around it. Specialization usually becomes more important as you reach the intermediate or advanced stage. And this also applies to strength goals. Maybe you have to sacrifice one aspect to improve another. Maybe you'll notice that for some odd reason, your overhead press is brutally strong, but your bench is not so good. So you got to take a little bit of a break from overhead press. Specialize in the bench a little bit more. Maybe you notice that your squat is just monstrous, but for some odd reason your deadlift is lagging. Perhaps that's due to weak lower back and abs, just a weak back in general. Maybe you don't have the best anthropometry, so now you got to calibrate your exercise accordingly. See, what wasn't a problem back then is now an issue, okay? And that's another thing too. What got you to a certain level of strength is not what's going to take you to the next step, even if it was effective. So let me repeat that in a way that makes more sense here. Just because something works, just because something's effective, just because something benefited you in the past, does not mean that you should repeat that in the future, all right? The perfect example being basic linear progression. We all did it at some point. We all fucking loved it. I wish I could go back to those days. Unfortunately, it's not how it works so much. I wish I could just add a rep every fucking time I go to the gym to my bench. By now, I'd be a goddamn beast, benching 4 or 5 easy, but it slows down, unfortunately, so that's why I have to periodize, right? So what got you to 275 bench may not be what will get you to a 405 bench. What got you to a 500-pound deadlift might not be what you're going to use to get a 600-pound deadlift. And it's not because it's ineffective. It's just that training changes as you become more advanced. You have to really get smarter, and you have to learn your body more than anybody else, okay? And this is where the training becomes more specialized for the individual. It's why so many advanced lifters, at the elite game anyway, they train in different ways. They have their own exercises that they enjoy. They have their own set and rep guidelines that they like to employ on a consistent basis. Like, you'll see that it's very individualized, very customized, and you have to learn your body. You really, really do. And you'll be amazed because sometimes an approach will work so well, but then it just stops working all of a sudden. You're like, fuck. thought I had the answer, but then you realize how little you actually know. Things will change so much as you begin to experiment, and you will need to experiment. That's just the bottom line. If you want to hit your potential, if you want to see what you're truly capable of. And it'll take you a long time to figure that out. So understand that your training is constantly going to evolve, and even the muscular weaknesses are going to modify. You might correct one thing, and the next thing you know, you got another problem. There's always something to fucking work on. There's always a goddamn problem, right? That's if you're trying to hit the ultimate stage. But like, understand, do get it, that what took you to one level of strength is not what's going to get you to the next. In most cases, there are some general approaches. There are some things that we could say are practically universal that definitely work, okay? And that's why we have things like exercise science, and we can look at the top strength and conditioning coaches in the world to see what's effective. But beyond that, things change. And you have to really get this through your head right now. I should also note that physique-wise, you're probably not going to look that different year to year. There will be like minor improvements here and there, but don't expect to make the same gains as you did when you were a novice. Like when you first start lifting, man, you can gain inches all over your freaking body. We're talking serious transformation here. But as you become more advanced, you're getting like 1-2 pounds of muscle a year for the most part. And that's not really noticeable. It's why a lot of these strength athletes look the fucking same every single year. You see them, you're getting stronger, but they look the same, or just very, very little improvement. See, the ones who look the best are the guys that have been in this for decades, real talk, you know? They tend to peak later in life. That's how it works for naturals. I've made a video on this before, but that's how it is. So don't expect major changes, and understand that your strength progress will tremendously slow down as well, okay? The closer you are to your so-called limit, which I don't believe is set, just so you know. I think you just make such slow gains that you might as well call a limit, but that's not really what it is. And of course, you got to be persistent and all that, but as you get closer to that, yeah, it takes much longer, okay? And instead of adding 50 pounds to your bench a year, you're maybe adding 10, 20 pounds, and it becomes even less than that, okay? But I would say 10, 20 pounds a year for an advanced lifter is very fucking good. So I just want to make that clear. And also, I wanted to talk about the form thing. Okay, so as you get stronger, the chance of injury increases, which obviously means form is more important. So if you're constantly benching in the high threes, you better know how to fucking bench. You better have that scapula retracted. You better be tucking. You can't have any fuck-ups. A little fuck-up can completely destroy you. And that's not an over-exaggeration. Even if you're strong, even if you're correcting your weaknesses, you can't allow yourself to have breakdown when you're going very heavy on certain exercises, which is why a lot of people end up backing down. Maybe they switch to a more bodybuilder type approach, okay, or they're trying to get more out of less weight. I know occlusion training is very popular these days, right? So I'm not suggesting that, but I will say that you need to get your form in check. And the sooner you start, the better, which is why like novices need to master their form on the essential compounds, on the squat, bench, deadlift, and all the accessories and everything. They have to learn the fundamental movement patterns that will carry them through the rest of their life. Because if they screw this up now, the journey is not going to be fun, my friend. Because later down the road, you're going to get so good at using a particular type of form, and it'll just increase your chance of injury for no goddamn reason when it could have been avoided in the first place. And that's the last thing you want, because once you get an injury, that's where you end up with all these comeback segments, right? Why should there be a comeback? Why not just consistently make gains over a long period of time? I think Matt Wenning said it best. Look at the guys who have been in this game for the longest, not who are the strongest right now. Look at the ones who can sustain themselves without injury, but are still an elite level. That's what I aspire to be. That's what I look up to. I want to look at guys who have longevity, who are not just banged up. They're not really young, and their body feels like an old man. They got fucked up joints. They got all these issues. And that's also why I believe in maximized programming. In my opinion, you should not just do the standard compounds and that's it. I think you should isolate. I think you should address weaknesses. I think you should employ lots of strategies to make sure that your body is functioning as good as you possibly can. Optimal programming. Not effective, not what works, but fucking optimal, okay? So you got to pay attention to that. You got to pay attention to recovery, and understand that form is crucial, especially on things like squats and deadlifts, all right? A novice who rounds his back on a 135 conventional deadlift, okay. It's not pretty. It's not nice to look at. And he's probably not going to get injured from it. But if you try doing that shit, that fucking cat rounding form with 600 pounds, even more than that, because you're trying to, improve yourself, you're maxing out all that, well, that's going to be an injury waiting to happen. So the more advanced you are, the less ego lifting you have to employ. Simple as that. That's why you have all these videos of novices fucking up. And most of them are not totally injured because the weight is so light, okay? But like I said, you become more advanced, form becomes more important, and you have to be very attentive. Maybe not go to failure every single set. Really pay attention to your recovery, pay attention to how you feel, and don't let these injuries creep up. Address them before they get out of hand, all right? On a final note, I'd like to talk about nutrition and how I would say it does become more important as you get more advanced. Because as a beginner, you can very, very effectively recomp, which you can still do as an advanced guy, but not to the same extent. What I mean is that you can quite easily be in a calorie deficit and gain muscle as a beginner, okay? Provided that your body fat is high enough. And then eventually it becomes just maintenance, eating normally, everything's perfect, you're making optimal muscle gains, can't complain. But then sometimes you might have to eat in a surplus on some days, or just all the way through, calorie surplus. When you're an advanced guy, it's different. You really got to be on top of your shit. You got to have your macros on point, which isn't difficult to do per se. Just a balanced diet will take care of that. Your micros got to be good too. But you need that edge, that nutritional edge, okay? And you can't just be eating like regular sedentary people. First of all, because you have more muscle mass, the need for food is much increased, okay? Higher TDE, just the way it is, higher appetite, all that shit. So your body has a greater demand for food, okay? And you can't just follow the standard American diet. You can't just eat like these regular motherfuckers. You really got to optimize your nutrition. And this starts at the beginning, okay? So the sooner you learn the habits of what proper eating entails, the better off you're going to be. And it'll carry through all the way to the end. But nutrition does become more important. And meticulous as well. Like if you're going to recomp as an advanced guy, some days you're going to have to be in a surplus, other days in a deficit or maintenance. Maybe you have to throw in some fasting in there too. Maybe some refeed days, stuff like that. Like there are some strategies that you could do that a novice doesn't really have to employ, but it would benefit more so an advanced guy. And typically speaking, you'll have to eat in a surplus. Like in most cases, a surplus is going to be the best for optimal muscle gains. Now it doesn't have to be a huge one. It could be very minor, but those days of, gaining muscle in a deficit, quite unlikely. So you have to get your food in check, and I would even say sleep. If you're advanced, man, that sleep can probably be the best supplement you'll ever get. Real talk. And that can make a big difference. That can make all the difference. And you'd be surprised, bro. You take a serious lifter, you remove the alarm clock, you'll see how much they can actually sleep because their body needs the extra recovery, okay? So honestly, lots of things are going to change, and it might sound depressing, but hey, that's what you subscribe to. That's the natural game. This is what it is. It's not a bad journey. It's fun. It's different. It's something that you actually have to fucking work for. You just got to sweat for it. Just got to put in the hard work and refine yourself. Evolve with your training. Become smarter, okay? And ultimately, it's a good thing because this is what leads to true change, mental and physical. And I love the process, and you should too. So this will make you a better man in all aspects of life. And I wish you tremendous success in your fitness journey. Enjoy the novice phase while you still can, because when you hit intermediate or advanced, things are going to change. So hope you learned some things today. Give me feedback down below, and I will talk to you all next time.